New Mexico, July, 1947. The desert at night is not empty. It only appears that way. The basin and range country southeast of Albuquerque, the high scrub, the caliche flats, the arroyos carved by water that comes once a year and then leaves. This is a landscape that keeps things. Bone, wreckage, silence. Things fall here, and the land accepts them without ceremony. The summer of 1947 was the first full summer after the war. The country was learning again what peacetime felt like. It was also the summer that a rancher named W. Mac Brazel rode out onto the J.B. Foster Ranch, roughly 75 miles north of Roswell, and found something scattered across the range that he did not recognize. Brazel gathered some of the material and showed it to neighbors. After several days, he drove into Roswell and told the county sheriff. The sheriff called the base. That is where the record begins. On July 8, 1947, the public information officer at Roswell Army Airfield, Lieutenant Walter Hout, issued a press release. It was brief and extraordinary. It stated that the Roswell Army Airfield had gained possession of a flying disc through the cooperation of local ranchers and the sheriff's office. It said the disc had been located on a ranch in the Roswell region and forwarded to higher headquarters. The wire services carried the story within hours. By evening, it had moved nationally. The following day, July 9th, a second statement was issued. This one came from Brigadier General Roger Ramey of the 8th Air Force in Fort Worth, Texas. He said there had been a mistake. What had been recovered was not a flying disc, but a weather balloon and its radar reflector. Ramey posed for photographs in his office with the material identified as the debris. The photographs were published. Officially, the story closed within 48 hours. A press release, a retraction, and then silence. For roughly 25 years, Roswell was not a central story. It appeared occasionally in UFO literature, but did not dominate the cultural landscape. That changed in the 1970s. Stanton Friedman began interviewing individuals connected to the incident, including Jesse Marcel, the intelligence officer who had retrieved the debris. Marcel later stated the material was unlike anything he had seen before and not consistent with a weather balloon. Additional witnesses emerged. In 1980, Friedman and William Moore published a book titled The Roswell Incident. From that point forward, Roswell became more than an event. It became a symbol. Coverage generated witnesses. Witnesses generated coverage. By the 1990s, Roswell had a museum, a festival, and a tourism economy built around a retracted paragraph from 1947. In 1994, the United States Air Force released a detailed report in response to inquiries from Congressman Stephen Schiff. The report identified the recovered debris as material from Project Mogul, a classified program designed to detect Soviet nuclear tests using high-altitude balloons equipped with radar reflectors and acoustic sensors. The explanation was structurally coherent. Classified project, unusual debris, confusion at the base level, and correction from higher command. This is the official position. It did not end the debate. What Roswell demonstrates is how institutional behavior can create conditions for enduring mythology. A military press release used the phrase flying disc at a moment when the country was already primed by recent UFO reports. The retraction followed immediately. Whether that reversal reflected confusion, classification boundaries, or something else, it created a structural gap. Memory complicated matters further. Witness accounts decades later differed in detail and interpretation. Memory reconstructs as much as it recalls. It responds to context, to questioning, to expectation. The gap between the original claim and the retraction remains documented. The later Project Mogul explanation arrived nearly half a century afterward. That delay does not invalidate it, but it complicates its reception. Where gaps persist, narrative forms. Why Roswell specifically, when hundreds of reports existed in that era? One reason may be that the initial claim came from a military authority rather than a civilian witness. The reversal intensified its weight. The event occurred during the earliest phase of the Cold War, as the national security structure was expanding and secrecy was becoming institutionalized. The National Security Act was signed into law in the same month. The country was learning to hold secrets and learning to question them simultaneously. The crash, whatever it was, landed in that context. The persistence of Roswell is not proof of what happened. It is evidence of the power of ambiguity. The desire to know what was recovered north of Roswell in July 1947 is a rational response to incomplete information delivered with authority. Whether the incomplete information represented the entire story or only part of it remains unresolved. Mac Brazel described the debris in practical terms to the Roswell Daily Record. He said it covered a wide area. He said he had seen weather balloons before, and that this was different. He also expressed a wish that the government would tell him what the material was. There is no documented record of him receiving that explanation. Walter Haut remained in Roswell for decades, and later provided accounts that differed from the official narrative. Jesse Marcel maintained that the material was extraordinary. Roger Ramey's photographs remain archived. In one image, he appears to hold a document researchers have tried for years to read. The text remains inconclusive. The desert north of Roswell still exists. The debris field site sits on privately held land. Researchers have visited. Nothing remains. Whatever fell there was removed, identified differently by different authorities, and the interpretive distance between those identifications has not fully closed. A question opened in 1947. It remains open, not because the answer is certainly extraordinary, and not because the official explanation is certainly insufficient, but because the record has never been universally convincing. In the space between those possibilities, the story continues. The desert keeps what it keeps. The rest remains interpretation. This has been a recorded transmission.